Once you've got your straps attached, and you can see they're attached only up to 1.5 inches below the top of the bag here, the top of this bag body piece, what you want to do before you do anything else is flip this over and iron it really well from the back. Remember, we're trying not to iron on top of the ribbon too much because it can't take as much heat as the rest of the fabric. So you can go ahead and you can iron this from the back. I already have, which is why mine doesn't look as kind of puckery as yours might, because I already ironed it. And then what you're going to do with both main bag pieces, so the both bag body pieces, so the main color and the contrast color. The main color has the straps on it, the contrast does not. What you're going to do now is go ahead and fold this right sides together, okay, and seam your short edges together. So you've just made a big old loop, right? Just seam your short edges together with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then press those seams open, and then we will move on to the next step. Now that you've sewn the side seam in your bag body and pressed it open, it's time to add the bottom to the bag, to both parts of the bag. So here is my bag body lining, or bag body contrast fabric, and the bag body main fabric. And I'm going to start pinning them together. So I'm going to start at the seam, and I just want to look, and in one of these places there's going to be a mark. Here is the mark that was 4.5 inches in. Now it's 4 inches from the seam because there's our 1/2 inch. Okay, that's the side I want to start on. If that mark were over here, if I was holding this the other way, and the mark were over here, then that would be the side I would start on. But here we go. My mark is right here, my 4.5 inches, which is 4 inches from that seam, and then 8.5 inches, which is 8 inches from that seam. That's where I'm starting, and I'm starting with the shorter end of this main fabric bag bottom. And what I'm going to do is pin the bag bottom onto the bag side, the bag body. I'm going to start at the seam and leave a 1/2 inch seam allowance hanging over the seam. Okay? Then I'm going to go all the way over to the next. I'm going to skip over this mark and go over to this mark, and that should also pin a 1/2 inch away from the seam. Okay, so there we go, a 1/2 inch away from the seam. Now I can see I have marked, the next mark is on both pieces of my fabric, because remember, we put those marks in on this piece as well. And what I'm going to do is sew from here, from this mark. I'm not going to go all the way over and catch this 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm going to sew from this mark with a 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way over to this mark with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, I'm going to stop at that mark, leave my needle planted in the fabric, lift up the presser foot, and then spin so that I can now sew along this side. This is why we don't want to go past that mark. And you can see here now I have this mark over here that goes to this corner. I'm going to pin that in. Okay, and then the 2 marks in the middle should also be on both pieces of fabric. They are, so I can actually go ahead and put those pins in. All right, just line up those marks and get those pins in. So once I plant my needle and then lift up the presser foot and spin, I'll be able to sew all the way across this side, stopping exactly at that mark, plant the needle, pick up the presser foot and spin, and then we'll do this side, which again, here is the mark that goes all the way over to this corner. Okay, I'm going to pin that down, and then there should be a mark in the middle on both of these. I'm going to pin that down. And then I have this last side I'm already pinned over here where we started, right? But I still want to go ahead and pin my 2 sets of marks on this side. It's just going to help me keep everything lined up properly. Oh, there it is. Alrighty, here we go. Alright, so again, I'm going to start sewing at this seam, going to backstitch, but I'm going to start right at the seam, backstitch, sew a 1/2 inch seam allowance across to this corner, plant the needle, pick up the presser foot, spin, keep going across to this marker, plant the needle, pick up the presser foot, spin, sew on all the way around. Okay, that's how we're going to get the bottom on here, and then we're going to do the exact same thing with my main fabric bag body and my contrast fabric bag bottom. And you can see here we're going to line up this way again. Okay, if the side of the bag were over on the other side of the seam, then we would go this way. Make sure you're attaching it onto the bottom, not onto the top that has the handles. All right, so pin it all around, sew it together the same way, and then come back here. Alrighty? Now that we've sewn on the bottoms, there is some ironing we need to do, and then we will join the 2 pieces. So first I'm going to actually clip my corners. This is the outer bag. I can tell because it has the straps on it, and also the extra lining in the bottom. And I'm just going to clip these corners, and you'll see what I'm doing is I'm folding back the main fabric. I'm just folding it up towards the body, and then I am clipping the bottom piece, the corner on the bottom piece. So I'm folding back the body piece up towards the rest of the body, and then I'm clipping the corner on the bottom piece. And then this one that has the seam, I'm just going to go ahead and just clip the corner. Now we're going to flip. We're going to turn the main body piece right side out. So you can see I'm just kind of sticking my thumbs in the corners and pushing them out. Alrighty. And now for some ironing. So now what we're going to do is make sure we roll those seams so that the actual stitching line is all the way up here where this fold is. It's not hiding inside. All right, making everything smaller than it should be. It's pulled all the way out, and then press that seam really well. Okay, the short sides are easy. Now we move over to one of the long sides, and I usually go from the corner to the strap and then kind of through the strap. I'm gonna iron the corner part really well, the first part really well, and then just real quickly go over the strap. I don't want to be too long on the strap with my iron. Okay, and now again I'm gonna roll out this whole middle section. All right, make sure that that seam is all the way at the edge, and I'm gonna press that middle section really well, and then get the rest of this piece and do a quick press on the strap. I'm going to keep doing that on the other 2 sides the same way I did the first 2 sides. Okay, I have finished ironing the main part, the outside of this bag. So now I'm going to do the inside. The ironing on this one is going to be a little different, but the clipping of the corners is the same. On the seam corner, I just clip. On the other corners, I pull the body fabric up towards the body, and I just clip the bottom piece. Pull the body up to the body and just clip the corner of the bottom piece. And one more. Now, pressing the lining is super easy. We're just going to put the bottom on the bottom, okay? See, this is the bottom piece and it's facing down. And we're now just going to fold exactly on that stitching line, folding it back towards the body. So we're folding the bottom back towards the body and pressing exactly on that stitching line. Super easy. We're going to do that on all 4 sides. Okay, I finished the last side of this bottom of this inner piece, and now I'm going to open it up, leaving the bottom of my inside piece of bag on the bottom of my work surface. I'm just opening it up and kind of puddling it. And I'm gonna make note of where the seam is. The seam is over on this side. Okay, just need to make note of which side the seam is on. It's over on this side. Now, I'm going to grab my body, my main bag. Okay, now I have the main part of the bag, the outside of the bag that has the handles on it. And I'm going to see where my seam is. Here's my seam. My seam is on this side. So I want the seams to be on opposite sides. The seam on the inside of the bag is over here. The seam on the outside of the bag I now have over here. So I'm going to take the bag and I'm going to flip the straps to the outside of the bag, okay? And now I'm just gonna kind of gather in, get my bottom kind of flat and sit it inside the other one. Okay, now I'm gonna find the center of this short side, which I should be able to find based on my marks. Here's the center of this short side. Here is the center of this short side. And then over here, again, based on my marks, here's the center of this short side. And here, let's see, here is the center of this short side. Okay, so I've got the centers of both of my short sides, and I can just give them a pull and kind of shake it. Get in there. That strap does not want to stick out. I mean, does want to stick out. It doesn't want to go in. There we go. Give it a little shake. Now you have your 2 ends together, and you're going to start pinning this together. And you're going to match your marks. So here is a corner, okay? Make sure you're really matching the proper marks, all right? And you're going to pin it all the way around. Then what you're going to do, once you have it pinned all the way around, matching up your marks, right sides together, you're going to sew, but you're going to leave about a 4-inch opening on one of the short sides, okay? See, here's a short side right here. You can tell by the bottom, there's a short side. All right, you're gonna leave like a 4-inch opening. So I'll start like right here, and I'll sew all the way around, and then I'll stop like right here, leaving that 4-inch opening. And then we will come back and turn and get this kind of more into a bag shape. Okay, I've got this all sewn together, and I've got my little 4-inch opening. Nothing smaller than 4 inches or it will be way too difficult. I'm sticking my hand inside, and I'm gonna grab the bottom of the outside of the bag. It's easy to find that because it's very stiff from the canvas, and I'm just going to start pulling it out. I'm not going to accidentally rip this opening wider than it already is, okay? Eventually it's going to completely flip around, and look at that. You now have this doubled bag. Now what you want to do is toss the inside of the bag inside the outside. Okay, so then if you just kind of grab it by where the handles are, give it a jiggle, kind of get it bag-ish. Now we have to do some pressing. So, as always, you need to be sure that your seam is all the way at the fold, okay? Make sure your stitching is all the way at the fold. This is one of those times where it's really easy to mess that up. So just pull out a small amount and hold it down and press it. We're ignoring the straps for now, okay? I'm gonna go and pull out another small amount. Get it all the way out. A little bit more. Okay, get that all the way out. You kind of finger press it and then take your iron and press it. We're going to do this all the way around. Okay, I have come to the opening. You see, here's my opening. So I've ironed all the way up to the opening. Now I'm going to go ahead and kind of skip the opening for a moment, and I'm going to iron a little bit on the other side. So here's where my opening ends. Okay, so I'm going to iron a little bit over here. Now I have both sides of my opening ironed. You see that? And all I have to do is give it a nice little tug and it should line up. If one of them is popped out like that, just kind of push those little seams in, and then if you give it a little tug, it should really just line itself up pretty nicely. Okay, and then you can just press that opening. Look at that, you can't even really see it, and when we do our top stitching, it'll be taken care of. Okay, and now keep on going around till you get back to where you started. Okay, now I've gotten all the way back to where I started. So now what I'm going to do is top stitch around this close to the edge, about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. And I have a little cheat sheet to help you understand what to do when you get to the straps. So do not start sewing in the middle of the straps. It'll be really easy to catch the strap in a weird way in your sewing machine so that it becomes really difficult to sew. So start sewing. Start sewing. I would start sewing on the side that does not have the opening, okay? So on the short side that does not have the opening. So I would start right here, do some back stitching, and you're going to stitch 1/8 of an inch away from the edge, okay? Now, when you get to the strap, what I would do is before you go over to the sewing machine, just pin these straps so that they're nice and following the line that they already started, okay? So now when you get to a strap, okay, so here we have our strap. This is the outside of our strap. This is the top of the bag. And this is that little line that we've already stitched right here, right? We've already stitched this line. So you're going to go ahead, you'll be sewing along next to the top of the bag. You'll be sewing along, you'll get to the strap. You're going to keep on sewing where you're 1/8 of an inch away from the top of the bag, even though you can't see it because you're going across the strap. You're going to go all the way until you get to the far edge of the ribbon. So until I get to here. Okay, I sewed all the way until I got to the far edge of the ribbon, right here. Then what you're going to do, plant your needle, turn your work, and sew a diagonal line down to the other side of the ribbon and to that stitching line you already have. So I went across here, and then I'm going to go down here. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to go back up to the top of the fabric. So I'm going to go back up to the top of the bag, sorry. And then from there, I'm going to go diagonally the other way. So then from here, I go back down to here, and then I go back up again, and then across, okay? So we go this way, and then this is line 1, this is line 2, this is line 3, this is line 4, this is line 5, and then you keep on going across. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then across to this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then keep on going. Just make sure when you get to your opening that it does stay nice and lined up as you sew over top of it, and then repeat those same steps when you get to the other 2 straps and go all the way until you've gone all the way around. Then come on back. Okay, look at that. Isn't that pretty? And now your straps are really well secured. They're really very sturdy. Of course, they go all the way through the bag, so you're not going to have them just tearing the bag. You're not going to accidentally pull them off this way. All right, they're going to be nice and secure, and that's just happiness. Now comes the part where you get to try really hard not to pin yourself. Okay? So we're going to the side of our bag, and we're going to put a pin in the top of one of these straight lines that goes all the way down to the corner. And then you want to find the corner, the inside corner with your finger, and make sure that it's pushed up into the outside corner, okay? So you find that corner, make sure it's pushed into the corner, and now I'm going to kind of pull on this end while I'm pushing on this end to straighten all of that out. Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and put another pin in here. I'm actually kind of spacing my fingers apart so I'm not pinning myself on the inside. Okay, and then I'm just going to kind of gently slide down the fabric, kind of make a little cup with my hands so that I'm not going to pin myself again, and through, and then slide down a little bit more. Take another pin. Okay, again, I have a finger here and a finger here and a space in the middle. Okay, and actually I did want this pin to be going this direction. I forgot that. There we go. All right, so I've got both layers of fabric pinned together from the corner all the way up. I'm going to skip over the middle for a second, and I'm going to go over to this little side. All right, I'm gonna kind of push my corner. Where is it? I found it. Push my corner into my corner. Okay, give it a little tug to line everything up. And now go back here, pin towards the top of the bag. Slide my finger all the way down to here again. Make sure the inside corner is meeting the outside corner. Pin towards the top of the bag again. Okay, slide my hand down a little bit. Pin going towards the top of the bag without putting a pin in my hand. Okay, and do one more. So I have one on the top, one on the bottom, and 2 in the middle. Okay, now I'm doing the middle stripe. Okay, so for this middle section, first I'm going to put a pin at the very top. And now, because both of these sides have already been pinned, I should be able to get everything to kind of line up neatly. I found that little connection point of the V, pinning up towards the top of the bag. I'm going to go over here and put one, sorry, that's a Y, not a V. Put one in that little point of the Y, and one in this little point of the Y. And then get one more in between the little connection point of the Y and the top of the Y. Okay, so now here we have all of our pins. I have pins going up here, pins going up here, and then I have my little Y pinned in. I will do the same on the other side. And then what I'm going to do is sew a couple of top stitches. I'm top stitching through just these 2 layers of fabric. Okay, so be really careful, especially as you get towards the bottom. I'm going to back stitch up here and then just straight stitch all the way down this line as far as I can go. I'll probably stop about 1/4 to 1/2 inch away from the actual corner and back stitch. And then I'm going to do the same on the other complete line, okay? Then I'm going to go to the middle part. I'm going to backstitch. I'm going to sew all the way down till I get to this little join section, and then I'll probably turn. I'll plant my needle, lift my presser foot, turn, put the presser foot down again, and then sew all the way over to the corner following the diagonal and backstitch. And then I'll come over here, backstitch, sew all the way down to the other corner, backstitch. Okay? I'm going to do that on both sides, and then we will come back. Okay, now it's time for a little bit of pressing. We have our stitching on our sides. So now all we're going to do is press the 4 corners. Okay, so the 4 sections of complete straight stitches, not the Y sections, the other 4. We are going to press those right on the stitching line. Just make sure there's nothing gathered or folded underneath, and then give it a nice press. And that stitching we just finished doing, it's not the last of our sewing, but it is the last of the difficult sewing. It is the last of the trying to get into a weird space. The rest of the sewing from here on out is really easy, I promise, okay? No more trying to get your machine and get your fabric in weird positions on your machine. No more turning or anything like that. All right, so I'm going to press. I feel like I have a little, there we go. Sometimes you can feel if there's a little fold going on inside. All right, so I've got that and I'm pressing it. Okay, and then we'll do the other 2. Flip it. Let's do the other 2. This is my last one to press. Now once I'm done pressing these 4 sides, I'm going to bring this over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to sew them while they're folded in half, just the way that I've pressed them. I'm going to sew them about 1/8 of an inch away from this fold. So give me 1 second to finish pressing this one, and I'll kind of give you a little visual there. Okay, so you see what I'm going to do is run this through my sewing machine, sewing about 1/8 of an inch away from the fold. All 4 of those folds I just did, start at the top, back stitch, and then keep sewing all the way down. Again, you might have to stop about a 1/2 inch to a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch away from the corner, from this bottom corner. Totally fine, but get as much as you can. Top stitched about 1/8 inch away from the fold on all 4 of those folds we just pressed. Okay guys, and now it's time for some ironing. What we're going to do is iron the bottom of the bag, the 4 sides of the bottom of the bag. So I have the bottom of the bag facing down, and now I'm just folding this side back. Okay, so I've got actually the front here, and I'm folding it back from the bottom. I'm just going to iron that really well. I'm just kind of ironing between the straps. Okay, and then I'm going to go around. I'm going to do all 4 sides. And once we've done that, once we've done all 4 sides, I'm going to go ahead and stitch around all 4 sides 1/8 inch away. And we're going to start like back stitch here, go across, back stitch here, do all 4 sides separately. Okay, you're not going to try to go around the corners. It will not work. It will not be happy. Okay, so do all 4 sides separately. First you fold them down. If you feel like it's not the inside didn't quite make it in, you can kind of reach inside and give it a little push. To be perfectly honest, it's not a big deal if when you sew you don't catch the inside. It's really totally fine. That's why I'm not really worried about it. You're just going to press all 4 sides and then stitch all 4 sides. I think did I start with this side? I think so. Yeah. And then that will be the end of the sewing, but we will come back and do a little bit more ironing to get this really in shape so that it will be a traditionally shaped shopping grocery bag that will work really, really well for your needs. All right, so come back and we will do some more ironing. Okay, time for some last ironing. We are going to put the bag with one of the long sides of the bottom down, and then we have one of the sides of the bag facing us. I'm going to go ahead and fold it on that seam that we pressed and top stitched, and then fold the other side seam over. Okay, and then just kind of fold the bottom in half this way so that we're tucked in right here. Okay, that's where that Y stitch was. Okay, so we've got that all folded up nicely. Now what we're going to do, if you're right-handed, you want the opening of your bag on your right side. If you're left-handed, you want it on your left side. Because now what we're going to do is pull this strap back, and we're going to just open it a little bit and press the inside of that fold. Okay, there we go. Now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and just give a good press over here where we have all of that folding happening, and then flip it over and do the same thing on this side. Okay, now we're going to spin this around and repeat on our opposite side. So we get our fold here, and then fold that side piece in half. Get that all lined up nice and neat. Okay, and then make sure that the bottom piece is folded in half, not this way, but in half like this. Okay, get that in there. All right, pull this top strap back, and then just pick it up a little bit and slide the iron in so you're pressing that inside fold. Press this stack of folds. Give it one more flip. Okay, press this stack of folds. And now we're ready for the last fold that does not need to be pressed. We're just going to pull the little bag straps over here, and then fold the bag in half, and then grab our stack of bags and place it on top. And now we have our stack of bags to go to the grocery store. There you go. Happy shopping!